Hey everyone, this is Danielle Gardner and I'm here today with Karen Miller. She has a natural health business that incorporates doTERRA essential oils, and also she does massage as well. So thanks for joining me today, Karen.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, so the context of our conversation today is breaking the habit of overdoing as a coach. And I love this topic because I see this a lot. I, of course, did it myself when in the beginning, and probably sometimes still do, you know. So we're going to explore this a bit. We're going to start out by exploring it through the lens of your experience. So where we were going to start is, what gave you the realization that you were overgiving, overdoing in your business?
So yeah, it's definitely a journey that we go through on this process. So when I first started out, so I had retrained from my corporate job at that time as a holistic health coach, going back 5 or 6 years ago now. So I had retrained and launched my health coaching business at that time. And so I set myself up and obviously wanted to be successful and offer great value to my clients. So I would set up these packages for them. And as well as the coaching, there would be additional things that I would add into the mix. So I'd have things like the fact that they could have unlimited email access to me with any queries and things like that. And then I just realized that there was too many queries coming through, or that it was hard to kind of keep up with the email messaging back and forth, and also that it wasn't necessarily appropriate to deal with some of those queries over email. So that was a sort of earlier on in my aha moment. So it wasn't working for me, and it wasn't working for the clients as well. And then my business has evolved. So as you said there, I've been involved with the doTERRA essential oils business now for a few years. And I'm also, as part of that, quite a high-level leader in doTERRA. So I actually coach and mentor a number of people in my business. So I kind of fell into that trap again within this context, where I would have, again, like an open diary, basically, so that people can kind of contact me anytime. And again, just felt that I wasn't necessarily supporting those people in the best way, and it was overwhelmed for me. Just finding that it was just too much, basically. So that's it in a nutshell. Should we explore it a little bit more?
Yeah, because I remember you saying that one of the things that sort of put you in a position where you did end up overdoing and doing things that maybe weren't aligned for you is kind of taking on others' ideas of success and going, oh, she's successful. I want to be successful. I want to do that too. And like, I've done that so much too. But tell us about what happened there.
Yeah, I think it's a common trap. So I love that we've been able to sort of pinpoint that. So thinking about my health coaching to start with. So again, you look to people who have been successful, and you have those people that you follow and look at their tips, and you're sort of really desperate to find out that thing that's going to make the difference. So I had heard that would be part of a package, a health coaching package that would add value, unlimited email support. It's like, yeah, well, on paper it sounds great, doesn't it? So yeah, put that in. Without questioning it. I didn't have the experience. I didn't have the confidence as well to question it, because I was so new, so green in those early days. So there was that aspect there. And then the same down the track a few years later with the doTERRA business, and again, just wanting to be a great leader for my team and support them and be available to them for anything at any time. Again, I'd heard other leaders do things like they'd have, like, say, a whole day where they would do all of their coaching and mentoring calls for their team. I thought, oh, again, look, that sounds great. You kind of get it all done in one day. But this could be, from like 10 a.m. till 8 p.m. or something like that. And, it's too much, and I just, again, just thought that I had to do that because other people who seemed to be successful and it was working for them, they were doing it. So therefore I would do it too, without considering what works best for me.
Yeah, and I think this is a good point to sort of mention the whole highly sensitive person thing as well, because, for a lot of us, I don't know if this is the case for everyone, but having a lot of people contact doesn't necessarily work. It's like, yeah, we need some, but we probably need a lot less. Is that what you found?
Yeah, Definitely. So I think I've been really understanding that aspect of myself more and more over the last couple of years. And, you know, through working with you, that nugget, that gold insight was, what's your energetic capacity for one-on-one contact or group contact with people in any one day? And you know, you would probably like it to be more than it actually is when you've got these sensitivities, but actually in reality, it's not. And you're doing yourself a disservice where you try and go over that that limit that we might naturally have. You're not going to help yourself, but you're not being, you know, in the best position to help those people that you're engaging with as well. So I think it definitely comes into it, you know, it's still a learning process for me of just, I guess, like honoring my own limits, really.
Yeah. And, you know, I do remember when I started off, my version of success was 20 clients a week, you know, that's, you know, and then I remember even a few years down the track when I kind of was a little bit closer to working out what, you know, what it really needed to look like. And I remember a girl that I used to work with, she had touched base with me and said, oh, you know, seeing you starting your own business, do you have heaps of clients? You know, and it was again like being faced with that sort of other people's idea of success. And like I noticed this part of me wanted to say, yeah, I've got loads of clients. But, you know, really, I was at that point where I'm realizing, you know, I'm only working or only want to work or only can work with a handful at a time, like maybe 4, you know, but there was a slight, didn't want to say that because I might seem like, oh gosh, she's not very successful or something. But this is what happens, right?
Yeah, and I think especially when we're feeling in those early days, we're feeling quite vulnerable. You know, we're inexperienced in what we're doing because we're going into something new. So we can feel quite, well, I'm just speaking for myself, I felt insecure as well. So it's just try and, you know, dive into those things that aren't actually appropriate over time. So it's a nice spot to get to, you know, down the track. I'm not saying it's all perfect now, but to recognize these things and to, as I said, just honor myself. And I think just emotionally with the HSP, the highly sensitive person aspect, even with the email contact, depending on the context and how you're working with people. But when I was doing my health coaching, I would be working with people around quite deep emotional work actually. And was that appropriate over email? No. But also it's still an emotional demand on you, you know, and especially if like me, I wasn't very good with my technology boundaries either. So I would be checking these things, you know, probably in the evening. And then that would all go into my kind of nervous system and stress me out and I wouldn't get a very good night's sleep. So there's all of that goes in the mix as well.
That's such a good way of putting it, isn't it? Oh my God. Yeah. So in your journey, and I remember you saying even sort of recently, it's like what started to make these changes is like you began to question the value and the purpose of some of these sort of meetings that you were having. And things like that. And tell us about that and how you kind of started to sort of adjust things so that you could sort of break that habit of overgiving or doing too much. Or
so I think how I could feel how it was affecting me emotionally, energetically, that I felt like I was burning out from it. And, you know, I started my own business because I had burnt myself out in the corporate world. And I was like, oh, this isn't going to happen again, is it, in my own business? I thought that I had all of my freedom here and my control and all of those things. And, you know, you do have the freedom to set your own schedule. So I think it was a realization that I can actually do it my way, and the way that honors my, you know, energy levels and, you know, the emotional demand that it was placing on me. So I think there was that. And then just the question mark, like you said, is this actually necessary? Does it actually have to be done this way? And does it need to be done at all? Do I need to have a set structure? So again, thinking about with my, you know, mentoring and coaching with my doTERRA team, or could it be more flexible and fluid than that? So just opening up to different ways of configuring the schedule. But even now that I'm not doing the health coaching anymore, like you said, I do some massage, some energy work as well. And I have to look again at what I can give in that day in terms of that client. And I do go quite deeply in those sessions with people. So like yourself, I've slimmed it down from where I thought I would have, you know, a whole day full of those clients to maybe like 1 or 2 a day. And knowing that that's best for me and that's best for them as well. And that's offering them the best service. So,
And on that part of sort of making yourself more available to teams, or, you know, I think in terms of if you're leading a group program, there can be this tendency, like, yes, to make yourself more available, but yeah, when you question the purpose, it's like, is this just an effort to sort of prove my worth? You know,
Yeah.
that
That is
sort
so
of
true.
that can be like the underlying thing that's really going on, and yeah, I mean, I have found that, you know, I've tried to sort of provide too much, or just give too much in a group, and really what can happen is people can get overwhelmed because they feel like, oh, I've kind of missed out on these things that are going on. So that's the other thing. It's like we can be trying to give, and people can be going, whoa, slow, you know, like I can't even catch up here. So
yeah, it's so true. And I had the experience last year of working with a health coach myself. So I had some health issues going on, and I engaged a health coach to work with. And it was so beautiful to be on the receiving end of that. And, you know, working with her, it was the session. And then there would be 1 or 2 recommendations that she would send me by email. And that was that. And I was so glad, because I thought, I've got no space for anything else, you know, and it was just the beauty of the simplicity of it, and recognizing how that can be received from the client side.
So let's have a look at any other changes that you made. So I've made a note here. One of the things that you shared with me is that you remembering or knowing or understanding about your human design strategy, like being a generator of responding, that's really helped. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so I've really loved learning that about myself. Again, it's still a way to go in terms of implementing that and learning to respond, because my tendency has been to rush in and to
initiate.
just initiate. Exactly. The complete opposite to what we're designed to do. So again, through working with yourself last year, really understanding that has been insightful in many ways. But in terms of this situation, what I have learned is that, you know, I would feel in some ways, like we were saying, I've done a really good job because I've had all of these meetings and tick, 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 it's all ticked off the list, but was it actually necessary? Whereas would it perhaps be better if, rather than having this, you know, meeting once per week where there may not be anything actually to deal with really, and we're just maybe having a nice chat, which is fine, but it's not necessarily, you know, needed or productive for either person. What about letting people come to me when there's actually a need to be addressed? So I've actually got a real purpose in coming together. Again, thinking this is to do with the people in my doTERRA team. They might have been running a business themselves within doTERRA and have an issue that they would like to discuss. So I think I could just take a big deep sigh of relief really when that insight dropped in. And it's working really well. It's actually it's flowing, and it's got that fluidity to it. So I think perhaps that's got application across different areas, but it's that's probably been the main thing that I've implemented so far with that strategy in terms of this kind of thing.
Yeah, and I'll just sort of drop in something that I mentioned, probably more than mentioned, is highlighted in a generator training I was just doing, is that it's for generators, it's all about creating an environment of response in your business. So it's like, have that in your mind. How can I create systems and whatever that allow me to respond? You know, so I find that really an exciting question to ask. So
and I think I also sorry to interrupt. I also have set up some systems in place, again referring to my doTERRA business, where I've got things in that are rolling now, which, you know, resources that my team can tap into, which don't need me to be there necessarily. So I think there's that aspect as well, that as we want to grow and scale things up, we've got to find smarter ways of doing things that don't mean that it's our contact time and our energy that's constantly needed. So I've really had to look at that and think about how, if I want to continue to grow and expand, which I do, how can things be more systematic and duplicable for the team. And I don't want them to be I don't want the last thing I wanted to be was this model of a leader who was burning out and that was overgiving and overdoing it, because then they watch what you do and then they model it themselves as well, and I really don't want that for anybody. So that's part of it.
Let's see what other things we may not have covered yet. So you're now more relaxed and aware of letting people come to you when they need to. Yeah. So we just spoke about that. You've done those systems, and yeah, like we have touched on this, but knowing your energetic capacity has been really helpful as well. So as we kind of look at beginning to close this up, were there any other kind of things that changes or anything you want to add to this idea of breaking the habit of overdoing as a coach or a leader?
Yeah, I think it comes down to something that so many of us can struggle with our self-worth and our confidence as well. So I think it's something that many can struggle with. You know, I'd come from, as I said, a kind of corporate job for 20 years, and then suddenly I'm setting up my own business, and I had no experience in natural health or coaching or doing a business. So I think it's just being, you know, knowing that you have a lot to give, even in those early stages. You don't have to overgive. Things that you can do to know your worth, you know, surround yourself with people who are going to boost that confidence for you is really important as well. And a meditation practice or some way that you can connect in with yourself so that you can, you know, question those things. Like we said, those ideas that seem like the right thing to do. Give yourself some space to respond to those ideas or not. Again, like the generator strategy, it's responding to an idea, going to the sacral response if that's how you operate as a generator, and feeling into whether that is actually appropriate for you. So just giving yourself that breathing space and that practice that really helps you feel into that, and with the confidence and the worth in place, you can make a decision about how you want to run your business, basically.
Yeah, breathing space, love it. It's one of my favorite strategies. Yeah. So,
yeah, for sure.
Beautiful. All right. Well, thanks so much for taking this time to sort of share your experience with this. I know that there'll be several things here that people can pick up and go, yeah, and, you know, think differently about it. So thanks so much for joining me today, Karen. And
my pleasure.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's helpful to somebody. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. See you soon. Bye for now.
Bye.